Alright, this will be a quick video covering some of the required game settings for Ahead in Time speedrunning, and then I'll go over a couple quality of life settings, and then some good mods that you might want to have. So first off, for the required settings, there are three things you need to make sure. Your online party should be left off, your frames per second must be at 60, and in your game settings, your speedrun timer must be set to on. It is also very, very recommended that you have auto-skip cutscenes turned on. If you see a live game events option here, that means if you're trying to play any percent, especially if you're following the lagless tutorial playlist, that you are playing on the wrong patch and you need to downpatch. So keep that in mind. But if you are playing on current patches on purpose, then you will have to leave the live game events option turned off. That covers all of the required things. Now for some suggestions. Actually, assist mode should be left off as well. But for some suggestions, you should turn off camera assist and camera shake. You can mess around with preference for camera distance and top-down camera, although the defaults are what most people play with, although I know some people who play with far. Camera smoothing should be left on off for more consistency with camera lineups. And no saving is a self-explanatory option, you just use that whenever you want to. The developer console can be left on. You just are not allowed to use the commands in your run, but it's okay to leave the option for this on. And some mods will not actually interfere with your run, but if you're unsure, you can conduct the legalized mods list in the video description. Or if you're paranoid, you can just disable mods before you do runs. In your graphics settings, you will most likely want to play on a gamma brightness that is higher than the default value, as some areas in the run can be quite dark. If you're experiencing input lag problems, you should try playing on full screen with VSync turned off. As for your advanced graphics settings, you should go to the simple settings here and drag your slider all the way to the left to squeeze out as much game performance as possible. And after that, you should go to the advanced configurations. And for cycles in the game, you will want to play on the lowest draw distance, high performance. For some visual cues, you will want to play with decals on, and your environment lighting shadow quality on performance. And you will want to play with camera vignette off, as this can yield a performance boost. And you will want to turn predictive traced camera off as well. A quality of life setting worth mentioning is depth of field. Not a quality of life, a preference setting, I'm sorry. I personally do not like how the game looks with depth of field on, so I have it set to none. And that covers the graphics settings. For audio settings, it is recommended that you play with at least game audio on. You can have music muted just fine, but for leaderboard submissions, it is highly encouraged that you play with game audio. For your input settings, never touch this option. I will have a separate video on how to rebind. You do not want to use the in-game option, as it will usually just break your controller. These four are preference. In the advanced tab, input assist should be left on. Hold backwards to cancel diving should be left off, and the emote button should be turned on. That covers all of the settings. Now for some useful mods that you might want. Console Commands Plus is an extremely useful resource. It is also what we use as practice tools for the game. And Information Overlay is a useful mod that you can have. And Coyote Time Indicator is also a useful mod. Those are all good for learning and practicing. You can find all of those mods by just searching the name for it on the Steam Workshop and subscribing to it. And these two are good cosmetic mods that allow you to run the game with custom hats, cosmetics, and a custom dye cosmetic, so you're not stuck on the defaults. The only requirement is that in the hat flare mod that the give standard hat option is set to I am not a cheater. Other than that, you can customize to your heart's content. And that should cover everything. The mod default dye mod also has modded dye support, so you can have a modded dye outside of just the base game dyes as well. But that should cover everything, and yeah.